Hey guys, I'm coming to you from my apartment here in Dallas, Texas. It's technically my day off today as I'm preparing for our watch party on Saturday. We're going to be going live on Steelers Talk, me and Coop, at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday for our live coverage of Steelers versus Ravens. So if you want to join the largest Steelers watch parties anywhere on YouTube, we have them on this channel. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now. And let's get into the injury updates here, guys, because we just got the injury report for the Pittsburgh Steelers for this week's matchup versus the Ravens. It's obviously a huge game because if the Steelers win, they officially lock up the AFC North crown for this season. But they're going to be without a couple of key players in this game. The only person that we know for sure that's going to be out that's a starter is George Pickens, who had that hamstring injury a few weeks back. He had that minor tear in his hamstring, and he will be out this week. Now, we kind of expected that. Jerry Dulac's been saying that he was expected to miss this game, but Mike Tomlin said that healthy people were going to play this week earlier in the week during his weekly press conference. So George Pickens will be out. So obviously that's going to mean quite a bit for the Steelers' offense, right? Because without George Pickens, this offense is averaging just 215 yards per game, which would rank dead last in the National Football League if that was for the entire season. The run game hasn't really been getting going, even against the Eagles defense last week that pretty much played light boxes the entire game. And the Steelers offense, even with 12 personnel, 13 personnel, couldn't get the run game going. With guys like Jalen Carter just breaking through double teams and all these different things. It just wasn't working out for the Steelers offense last week. So without George Pickens, obviously you're going to be relying on guys like Mike Williams, guys like Ben Skoranek, guys like, of course, Calvin Austin III, who had a pretty decent week last week. Those are going to be the main engine of this Steelers offense heading into Week 16. The Ravens defense has been playing a little bit better as of late than they were earlier in the season. Obviously, the Steelers offense, even with George Pickens, didn't have a great day offensively, even at home in their win earlier this year at Acrisure Stadium. So without George Pickens on the field, it's definitely going to be something where Russell Wilson's going to have to be on his game. The offensive line is going to have to do a good job protecting him and creating run lanes for Najee and Jalen Warren. So it's definitely going to be all hands on deck offensively for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And honestly, I don't expect a whole lot of scoring for Pittsburgh once again in this matchup. Now, that obviously puts a lot of pressure on the defense to hold Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson to less than 20 points yet again, like they usually do. And the other person, the other starter that's pretty much for sure going to be out here, he's got a doubtful status heading into Saturday, is strong safety DeShon Elliott, still dealing with that hamstring injury himself. So if that's the case, guys, expect to see Minkah Fitzpatrick get a lot of work in the box like he did last week, a little bit of work in the slot like we saw from him last week, the stuff that we usually see DeShon Elliott do on Sundays. I expect to see Minkah do that again this week against the Ravens. I actually thought he did a pretty decent job against the Eagles in this role. He pretty much played in the box all last year with all the injuries and at the safety position for the Steelers in 2023. So Minkah's very comfortable in that kind of role, playing in the box, and then expect to see DeMonte KZ, maybe even a little bit of Cam Sutton playing that free safety role at the top of the defense. So Pickens and Elliott are the two starters that are definitely going to be most likely out here with Elliott's status. And then Justin Fields, the backup quarterback, suffered an abdominal injury taking that tackle from Reed Blankenship. The Philadelphia Eagles safety last week. He's going to be out with an abdominal injury, so Kyle Allen will be the team's backup this week in case, God forbid, Russell Wilson gets hurt. So you're not going to see any Fields package stuff. You're not going to see Fields come in on those 3rd and 4th and short situations or in the red zone or anything like that. It's going to be Russell Wilson's game on Saturday, so keep that in mind. Also, a couple starters that are questionable. Larry Ogunjobi is going to be questionable still with that groin. He's been practicing, but it's definitely up in the air heading into Sunday. If he doesn't play, it's going to be guys like Dean Lowry, Isaiah Loudermilk, other players, Montrevious Adams. All these guys kind of rotating in to fill in the role at 5 technique that Larry Ogunjobi usually fills. And then Dante Jackson, the starting corner that hurt his back last week against Philly, Look, it's looking like he's going to be questionable heading into this one, so we'll keep you guys updated on those two guys' status. If you don't have Dante Jackson, it's most likely going to be James Pierre on the outside. They've been very comfortable going to him. Corey Trice Jr. Would probably get a helmet, and he would probably get on the field as a backup and on special teams and maybe as a dime backer if Dante can't give it a go. But if Dante's on the field, I do expect probably Corey Trice to be not getting a helmet this week and once again be a healthy scratch. I do expect at this point, if Dante doesn't go, it's going to be Joey Porter Jr. and James Pierre as your starting outside corners. But with Rashad Bateman looking like for the Ravens, he's not going to be able to give it a go on Saturday. It's really about corralling Zay Flowers and then the beret of tight ends that the Ravens have at their disposal with guys like Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, etc. So it's really going to be important for JPJ to do a good job on Zay Flowers like he did in these guys' first matchup. But the big news here, guys, and this is definitely something that we were worried about on last week's watch party, was TJ Watt. TJ Watt will play this week after that low ankle sprain that he suffered against the Eagles in the fourth quarter last Sunday, and he's been walking around the facility all week. He feels good. He doesn't have a really heavy brace on his low ankle, and he's healthy enough this week where he's going to be giving it a go. And I will say, keep your eye on him. I think that this is probably a good week for him to not have a game-wrecking type performance, because it is his left ankle, and it's going to be tough to kind of round that corner the way that he usually does, in the explosive manner that he does to get to opposing quarterbacks when you're dealing with an ankle injury and an ankle sprain. So TJ Watt will be on the field on Saturday evening, but I would probably say expect a lesser version of him, just because he is dealing with that injury, and he is dealing with probably some limited flexibility in that ankle. So he will be on the field. I do expect him to play well, but probably maybe not as well as we're accustomed to seeing from him. So other guys in this lineup, Cam Hayward, who's having a first-team All-Pro caliber season, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig, these guys got to step up in the ways that they have stepped up all season long. Alex Highsmith looked bloody fantastic last week against the Eagles, and Nick Herbig, of course, has come up with some big plays as well this year. And Cam, I mean, what else can I say about Cam? I mean, he's been playing absolutely lights out all season long. He's a first-team All-Pro, in my opinion, arguably the best season of his entire career, and he's past, he's on the other side of 35 now, so that's kind of crazy how good of a season he's been having. But just some final thoughts here after we've broken down all the major injuries and all the updates for you guys heading into Saturday's matchup. I'm expecting a low-scoring affair. I expected that, when I put out our preview earlier in the week. You guys can check out that preview. I'll put that one in the link. I'll put that link to that preview video in the comments and description of today's show, so you guys can check that out. But I predicted the Steelers to win 20-17 at the beginning of the week, and these injury reports have kind of gone the way that I kind of expected them to go, so I'm going to stick with my original prediction. Usually these teams get to 20 or less points, and it's a really low scoring game, and it goes down to the fourth quarter. That's what I'm expecting once again from these two football teams, where it's going to be a classic AFC North kind of brawl it out kind of game, where it's going to be low scoring, it's going to be a defensive football game, and it's going to be whoever makes that big play in the fourth quarter is going to come away with the dub. Now, the Steelers have won against the Ravens despite these really close matchups, low-scoring games, 8 of the last 9 times that they've played, right? And the one time that they did beat them, it was not with Lamar Jackson. It was with, what was the guy's name? It was the guy out of Oregon, where it was Anthony Brown, when it was against Kenny Pickett, and it was just an awful football game. That's the only time the Ravens have beaten the Steelers in the last 9 matchups. So I do still like the Steelers' chances to win. Absolutely, the Ravens, with guys like Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, can certainly get a victory this week. But remember, guys, even if the Steelers lose this week, if they beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas and they beat the Cincinnati Bengals in the season finale, they're still division champs. So this is by no means, a must-win for Pittsburgh to win the division. Of course, they've already locked up their spot in the playoffs in the AFC. So right now the Steelers are still playing with house money, and if they do come away with a victory tomorrow, not only do they get the season sweep, but it's a hat and t-shirt game, and we get to celebrate an AFC North championship on their field, which is obviously something that this team is going to want to do on Saturday night. All right, guys, that's going to be it for my updates for you guys here from my apartment. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got another Steelers video coming out tomorrow, and then also we'll be going live on Saturday starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be giving away a Steelers jersey in a raffle. We're also going to be doing an extensive pregame show, live play-by-play during the game, and then also extensive post-game coverage as well. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys for making it to the end of today's video. I will see you guys on Saturday for Steelers versus Ravens. And until then, guys, here we go, Steelers.